Hey guys, All in Crypto here, and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, for another YouTube video. Hopefully, you've all had a wonderful day wherever you are, whatever you're doing. Today, we are going to be diving into a cryptocurrency that I think is massively underrated. And throughout this video, you are going to find out why it is I believe that. This is a cryptocurrency that is on my personal watch list that I have shared with my Patreon members, and I think has absolutely huge potential. Not only does this cryptocurrency, but the ecosystem that is yet to come out of it. Whilst we are in this bear market, we have seen the total value locked within DeFi ecosystems shrink across basically all layer ones: Ethereum, Solana, Polkadot, Cardano, you name it. We've seen a huge extraction of liquidity and actually a shrinking of total value locked throughout basically any smart contract layer one blockchain. However, this blockchain has actually gone up in terms of total value locked within the DeFi space, and I believe this is because it has a lot to offer. So let's go ahead and reveal the coin, ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed ALGORAND, which gets its name from harnessing the power of randomness algorithmically. ALGORAND. We're going to dive into what this blockchain is, who founded it. I'll just show you the total value locked. You can see, in actual fact, at the time of recording this video, it may come out a week later for you guys, that we are at a new all-time high for DeFi and the total value locked in US dollars and in Algorand within Algorand's DeFi ecosystem. This is at a time when essentially total value locked within DeFi across most projects is getting destroyed and depleted. So very, very impressive that it's doing this in such a strong bear market. Like I said, we're going to dive into what Algorand is. We're going to get into a lot of their partnerships, like their partnership with FIFA. We have previously covered this coin on many occasions. We covered their interaction and their actual usage in the Marshall Islands, where they're actually almost running CBDCs. They're also working on quantum resistant technology, which the Fed has also stated that they were going to work on in order to publish their CBDC. I can see Algorand being very, very cushy with governments around the world and actually regulators, and being a kind of poster boy, if you will, for the I don't want to say elite, that's not where we're going, the kind of government and control structures, and I think the price will do very well as a result of that. What does that do for our freedom? Well, I'm not 100% sure. We know that a philosophical and kind of key pillar of blockchain is decentralization. You actually don't need to be decentralized in order to have a working, fully operatable blockchain. And certainly from an investment point of view, decentralization in many respects is a philosophical view that we really like to focus on. And it is a very much integral part of Satoshi's vision. And actually is, one reason I got into crypto in the first place was because my views align with it. I think that we live in I essentially think that the world is, or certainly a lot of the Western world is in complete psychosis. And we've been duped and kind of hoodwinked into living the way that we are with the monetary systems and so on and so forth. I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, guys. Let's get straight into it. Let's take a look at where Algorand is today before we dive into the project. It's currently 29th in terms of market cap, sat at around about 33 cents. And he's down a whopping 81% on the year and has a $2.3 billion market cap. This is going to go back to 20, 30, 40, 50, potentially even 100 billion, where some of these sort of higher up layer one protocols have gotten to. So what the hell is Algorand? The world's most powerful and sustainable blockchain. Our institutional grade blockchain infrastructure is the first and only to achieve decentralization, scalability and security without compromise and while being environmentally sustainable. So Algorand are supposed to be the greenest blockchain out there in terms of emission. You can see at the top here, their block time is 3.7 seconds. Current activity is only 16 TPS, 16 transactions per second. With Algorand's pure proof of stake consensus, they're a proof of stake layer one blockchain like Ethereum, like Cardano. They do things very differently. And actually have, according to Silvio, who's the founder, which we're going to dive into in a second, achieved the kind of Vitalik's blockchain trilemma of security, decentralization, and scalability, which is super impressive. And they do this really through harnessing the power of randomness. If you have random selection in who's minting what blocks, how can an attacker try and figure that out? You know, if it's totally random and there's no sort of what would the right word be, trails in the sand, or there's no sort of clues, it's completely random. How can you attack one area? You know, you're kind of working on a luck-based system, and with all the validators that they may attain, you know, that's going to be very hard to do. So it's a very green blockchain. Essentially, it is just a layer one blockchain. I don't want to say just a layer one. It's basically an Ethereum competitor. Now, I hate branding cryptocurrencies as Ethereum competitors. The reason that I do this really is because Ethereum was the first smart contract blockchain. It was the first blockchain that essentially came along, looked at Bitcoin and said, this technology is amazing. Let's go ahead and, you know, add an extra layer of capability, i.e. smart contracts to this, but harness the power of blockchain and the kind of validation that it provides, thus having this kind of immutable contracts that we can store on a blockchain publicly, or in some cases not publicly, depending on what chain you're using. And then, of course, we've had other blockchains come about, like Algorand, that are essentially trying to improve on Ethereum's shortfallings. And we've, you know, I think it has done that. And according to Vitalik, Silvio McCarley, who we're going to dive into in a second, you know, Algorand have done this very well. They've got 29 nearly million addresses, and the transaction fee is at 0.0003 cents. Extremely cheap to use. I did a lot of farming on early applications on Algorand, like Yieldly and so on and so forth. Back when, you know, we were in a bull market. I've since sort of moved away from farming any DeFi because I don't think I want to hold any small altcoins in this kind of a market environment. Who founded Algorand then? So it was Silvio McCarley. Silvio McCarley has been on the faculty at MIT Electrical Engineering and Computer Science Department since 1983. Silvio's research interests are cryptography, zero knowledge, pseudo-random generation, secure protocol, and mechanism designs, and blockchain. In particular, Silvio is the co-inventor of the probabilistic encryption zero knowledge proof. So Silvio, lots and lots of blockchains out there are looking to harness this kind of concept of zero knowledge proofs. He also founded verifiable random functions and many other protocols that are foundations of modern cryptography. So this guy has been doing cryptography before it was even cryptography. In 2017, Silvio founded Algorand, a fully decentralized, secure, and scalable blockchain which provides a common platform for building products and services for a borderless economy. At Algorand, Silvio oversees all research, including theory, security, and crypto finance. If you were looking for a founder of a project, it would be this guy. He's also won a lot of prizes. The Turing Award in computer science, which essentially is like a Nobel Prize. You know, this is a very, very smart individual who has a mathematical background. He has a PhD in computer science from the University of California at Berkeley. So this is an extremely intelligent man, and his sort of brainchild, if you will, is Algorand. And this, Silvio alone makes me bullish on this project, let alone everything they have to offer, like their high scalability, the kind of proof of stake consensus that he's really pioneered. And he actually goes on, and there's a section, the consensus. So under the hood, Algorand is essentially ran by pure proof of stake. And on Algorand's page, they actually compare pure proof of stake, PPOS, to proof of work. They give you the advantages. They compare it to delegated proof of stake. They also compare it to bonded proof of stake, so something potentially similar to what DOT potentially is doing and what Cardano is doing here. Sort of, that's kind of a broad brush to paint them with, and give the reasons why a pure proof of stake is actually extremely useful and has many advantages. You can see they have a lot of partners, and we're going to get into some of them. One recent partner is actually with FIFA. Let's take a look at their ecosystem. Let's dive over to the ecosystem directory before we get into some of the sort of advancements of Algorand and some of what we need to know. Remember, these guys have gone up in terms of total value locked when the rest of the market has gone down. But you can see these are all the new projects to the ecosystem, new creators, trending projects. So Yieldly is one that I got involved with a long time ago. Folk Finance I've also played around with, and Algo 5 done a little bit of playing with, but they've done very well recently, as they're now, you know, the top spot with $136 million locked within this protocol. One thing I love about Algorand and the Algo Foundation is essentially they're very, very committed, along with external companies and funds, to actually support their own ecosystem and really see it grow and succeed. And this ecosystem has only really just begun. There's only 13 projects on it. There's going to be hundreds, if not thousands. This makes me bullish on the long-term trajectory of Algorand. We will dive into a little bit of price action. Not too much, though. I'm not a buyer here, and I'm actually a buyer at lower prices. But we can talk about that in just a moment. So to recap what we've gone over, Algorand is essentially claiming to be the world's most powerful and sustainable blockchain. It is essentially carbon negative. So it actually is sort of sold as the greenest blockchain out there. It's founded by a man called Silvio Micali, who is a very, very impressive individual. Not only was he one of the key members at MIT, which is one of the most notable universities in America, he also has won a number of awards, like the Turing Award, which is the kind of Nobel Prize of computer science. Very, very hard award to obtain. And it runs on something called the proof of stake consensus, called pure proof of stake. And it is a Ethereum competitor. As we will see, the likes of Grayscale added it to their fund comprised of Ethereum competitors. And it has done very well during this bear market in terms of total value locked. Very impressive so far. And we're only just starting to see its DeFi ecosystem really erupt. Let's get on to some of the advancements and stories involving Algorand. So Algorand scores FIFA partnership. Algo price surges. The blockchain will be a regional supporter of North America and Europe at this year's World Cup and an official sponsor of next year's Women's World Cup. This is huge news. This is going to gain huge notoriety to Algorand. I think one reason Algorand hasn't done as well as potentially other projects out there is because of its popularity, its notoriety, its kind of community, if you will. It's not as well known as lots of other cryptos out there, and certainly hasn't received the same sort of hype, even though, and I'm going to say this, it is far, far superior to most other layer ones out there. I'm not going to say all, that's for you guys to decide, but most other layer ones, Algorand absolutely decimates in terms of stats, capability, partnerships, and a whole list of other things. It's never gone after just pumping the price up. It's always been about building an actual blockchain that is going to work and actually run potentially the infrastructure of the future. And we see, again, them being very, very cozy with governments. So this is a huge partnership. This was massive for me. This is the acceleration vesting. So this essentially enabled early investors to be able to dump their algo tokens whenever the price was high. This is what suppressed, I think, the price massively. This has now come to an end. So there's going to be a huge amount of supply, new supply hitting the market from early investors taken off the table. This is very interesting. Former Citi banker launches a $1.5 billion crypto fund, taps Algorand as first partner. So you can see the crypto economy continues to lure top talent from Wall Street. Matt Zhang becomes the latest industry veteran to jump ship. Miami to use Planet Watch and Algorand for air quality monitoring. So these guys already have, this is what I mean, they have partnerships, not only with governments around the world, but actually with, you know, states within America, like Miami, to sort of help monitor. Very fitting that the greenest, supposedly, blockchain out there is also, you know, helping the likes of Miami to kind of monitor air pollution and air quality. This again, I mean, this is one use case that blockchain has. You can apply blockchain to almost anything. And this is, you know, certainly very, very interesting. And we've got Borderless Capital announces the launch of a $50 million algo fund too. This, again, is just another sign that there is real institutional demand and interest here. You know, and this is really, in my opinion, set to continue. Also, we have Grayscale launches smart contract fund for Ethereum competitors. The assets of several smart contract platforms have been included in the fund: ADA, Solana, AVAX, DART, MATIC, Algo, and XLM. And I think Algorand, in my opinion, should have got a lot more of their capital. I think Algorand is a massively slept on project, and I think it's going to be too late by the time everybody starts to hear about it to be an early investor and really get that benefit from these lower prices. This is not a call to buy Algorand, by the way. I don't care whether you buy it or you don't. What this is a video to get you guys familiar with it and kind of turn your head in its direction. I am not a buyer here, if I'm being honest. I'm personally waiting for lower prices that we may never get. I just happen to think that, you know, I understand the sort of broader macro context of everything. And I do think there are lower prices to be had for the cryptocurrency market and all markets in general. I think Algorand is going to very much be a part of that. But we will see. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. It's given you a good rundown. I'd be surprised if you haven't heard of Algorand, but hopefully if you haven't heard of it, you now have. And if you have already heard of it, you know, you understand what it is a little bit better and why it's such an impressive blockchain. That is all I've got for you in this video, guys. If you have enjoyed this content, as always, a like is always appreciated. So is a comment. If you want to check out my Patreon, there's a link in the description. See you all in the next video, guys. Thanks a lot for watching.